people there. Yeah. Hello. Oh, I've got Mario up today. Let's have a look. Sorry. Hello, 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 hello. Let's hope the internet lasts well for us today, because it's been a bit funky everywhere recently.
Oh yeah, lots of people using it all the time.
So if you're not doing anything good on the internet, can you please get off? Because I'm trying to do something, all right? Right, so we're nearly ready to start, by the way, everybody. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, I need a controller. Because again, I'll be playing the game, I say live, and I say playing. I'll have the game open for you. Right, tea is out the way, not going to spill it on everything. I've lost... Oh, actually, should probably hit record. Should probably hit record. That helps.
I assume it probably does if you want to release it afterwards.
I've done this before, I promise.
Just kidding, go ahead.
What are we in? We are in... let's meet our friend Craig, who's going to be recording the podcast for us. Mr. Bot here. So yeah, I didn't explain this to you, sorry. But yeah, so all I do is there's a channel bot called Craig, and he joins our chat, and as soon as he joins it, it starts recording the audio. So we haven't got to do anything else. And then at the end of the chat, he leaves the channel, and then sends me a link to all the audio ready to download. It's wonderful.
Okay.
So
now recording.
Okay.
there you go. That's our friend Craig. He needs a new name. I hate the name Craig. So sorry for the name.
Well,
Craig.
no, it's it's a good name.
So that's done. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
He's ready. This is good. Yeah, my stream has gone a bit laggy. I don't know what's happened. Let's close the 10 million windows I have open. That helps. Yeah, there you go. Having 44 Chrome tabs open probably wasn't helping it.
Probably doesn't help.
No. Right, good. Okay. And we're ready. So, welcome to the show, mystery guest. How you doing?
Fine, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So we have, again, I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying the name of you and the name of the game in the intro, because then I kill your first question. So I'm keeping it a mystery. But I actually played your game, well, was it 2 weeks ago on stream?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
So this is kind of a follow-up to that playthrough of the demo. And here we go. So we're just going to put it into podcast format for everybody to listen to what you've been creating. So tell us who you are and tell us about your game.
Right, so my name is Filipe Tomás, and I am a Portuguese indie game developer for a little bit over a year. I I have studies in engineering, and I worked as an engineer before, and I decided to quit my job because I finally understood that it was not for me, and I had some savings. And in the meantime, while I'm trying to decide what was my path going forward, I decided to download Unity, started messing a little bit with it, and realized that I could probably be able to make a game. As
Wow.
simple as that. And and basically, so I did a prototype in like 2 weeks to make sure that I was able to do all the different components of the game, and I was pretty happy with the results. And from that prototype, the game called Into a Dream was born. Into a Dream is basically a story-driven game, and I decided to be so because, for one hand, I really love writing narratives and making stories so that other people can go through it. Whether it is, mainly if the story is of a humane, emotional character. But it was also a decision in order to not overscope the project. I mean, it was my first project. I didn't have any kind of prior indie game knowledge, so I decided to keep the gameplay part of the game, which would imply a lot of programming, so to speak. I kept it simpler and made the focus a lot more on the narrative and on the writing and on character development, etc. And this is basically the main core of Into a Dream. So it's not your typical game. I mean, I would say that a lot of non-gamers could play and enjoy Into a Dream because it's much more based on the narrative aspect than it is on the gameplay itself, like jumping and puzzle. I mean, there is some of that, but to an easier and lesser extent.
Wow, there's loads to unpack there. Wow. Okay, right. So, who the hell just thinks they'll have a go at Unity and just creates a game? Who does that?
Well, I mean, it's something that's very of my personality, for the best or for the worst. I mean, I'm one of those people that when they go and see like a very renowned movie or a renowned musical or something like that, I also have that feeling, which is a little bit stupid and naive in a way. But yeah, I could do this as well. and well, I mean, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. This time the stars kind of aligned in the sense that I had some knowledge, previous experience in music and in writing, and I started learning Unity when I was in between jobs. I had some financial stability to support me for a while if needed, so I just took the risk.
Wow. I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, so was this really the first time? I mean, I'm assuming you've always been a gamer casually.
Yes.
Okay, so, but is this the first time you even tried to learn anything or create a game?
So I wanted to create a game for quite a while now. It's been on the back of my head for like 5 or 6 years. I even started to create a story for the game that I would eventually write. But actually going into the programming, yes, I mean, I think in December 2018, I messed a little bit with an open source program called Godot. But I mean, seriously, it was only on February of 2019 when I downloaded Unity and started doing the tutorials of it. And I mean, of course, I have some programming background. It's not that I learned how to program from scratch.
Wow.
I mean, I learned to program in the university, and then on my work, I had to program as well.
Okay.
And Unity makes it quite simple for those who have some programming background and know how things work. The way that it's constructed helps you a lot. You're not needing to learn a lot of the complex stuff.
Yeah. So, what were you coding in before? What languages did you know?
So I learned C and C++ in college, but
Perfect.
then I used Python mainly on my
Oh, okay.
day to day. job.
That's cool. I've had a little go on Python, but I just cannot program. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm far too impatient.
I understand. But Python is actually a quite straightforward language. It's quite good for. I mean, and now at least in Portugal, every colleges is using it as the main programming language to learn.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Okay. So, I mean, the game again. If you're watching the live stream or the replay on YouTube, wherever you're watching it, I'm just playing the game again casually in the background here, just so you can take a look at as we're discussing it. But if you're not watching it, then the obvious visual comparison is Limbo for a style look. I mean, not. It's kind of like a zoomed in Limbo.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that silhouetted 2D, but with a 3D effect view angle, haven't you? Side scrolling. And it looks beautiful, and the music is lovely, and the sound effects are lovely. You can't hear it here because otherwise you'll be distracting on here. So I've muted it all for the moment. So how did you create the artwork? I mean, how did you have any art? Don't tell me you had artistic skills as well, just to make us a bit sicker.
No, but the art was also all made by me. but actually, the art was the most. I mean, it was the thing that I was most uncertain about when I started this, because I don't have any kind of major artistic background in terms of design or drawing or etc. So most of the choices in design were actually not choices per se. They were basically made to simplify my life. For example, the silhouette approach, contrarily to what one may think. I mean, I just played Limbo after I already have settled on the design style. To be honest, the silhouette approach was simply because I wouldn't have to design the details.
Yeah, you have to draw eyes and noses and stuff.
Basically, and the monochromatic kind of feel that I have, because if you look at the design of my scenes, basically the foreground is black, but then it goes in basically it then turns into a certain color in the background that goes lighter and lighter and lighter until it's as bright as possible in the background.
Yeah.
And this approach was actually something that I took inspiration from a tutorial on YouTube that actually taught how to do this kind of monochromatic art. So yeah, of course it looks a lot like Limbo, mainly one of the first levels, because it's more black and whitish. But it was not from there where I got my inspiration.
Okay, well, we should probably talk about, because the style you've gone for actually suits the story, doesn't it? And the backstory of the game.
It does.
So do you want to just explain what that backstory is?
Of course, yeah.
We've actually got a bit of music playing in the background here. I'm pretty sure I muted it, but it's a little treat for the podcast listeners. They can have some audio.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
So the story is the following. So basically, you play as a character that wakes up in a mysterious place and has no clear recollections of anything in his past, and eventually stumbles upon a recording of these two doctors that tell him that he is a renowned psychologist, and his mind has been linked to the mind/dreams of this man called Luke Williams, who has been diagnosed with severe depression. And this man, this Luke person that is depressed, has such a deep state of depression that conventional psychotherapy methods haven't been able to help him past his darkness. And so this new method, which is trying to help the person from within, from inside him, is basically tried. And you are the person, that the psychologist that was chosen to delve into this man's dreams. So your goal is basically to find Luke, to try and understand what led him to that state. So what were the events in his life that made him end up in this depressed state, and if possible to lend a helping hand in overcoming this issue.
Wow.
And and the style of the game has this component of darkness in the foreground and light in the background.
Yes.
That kind of matches this story as well, because the person is actually depressed, and hence the foreground being black, but there's a sense of hope and a sense of lightness that hasn't completely faded away, and that is eluded by the background being lit. And well, your goal is to bring lightness to the foreground as well, so to speak.
Yeah, and it has got a... I mean, yeah, that sums it up perfectly. It matches the story so well. It's fantastic. And it's got like a... It feels like a dreamy, hazy sort of state to the whole game, isn't it? It's all sort of slightly... And the fact that you've used a silhouette where you can't quite make out... You can't make people's faces and features out. You're not quite sure where you are. Matches that story absolutely spot on.
It adds up very well. I mean, it was, as I said, it was, although it was not, it was something that was thought of.
Take the credit. Take the credit. You're a genius.
No, but eventually it was built. It was built upon that. And actually, one of the things that actually also pops, I think, of course, helps pop the dreamy style, and was something that possibly it was what took me the longest in all the design process, was actually the lighting. And by lighting, I mean the difference of color between the different layers. I mean, foreground, background, etc. And these little flashes and these sun rays and moon rays and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I've just seen the moon ray.
That's probably what took me. That's what probably took the most time in the design process, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. And it makes you feel calm while you're playing it. It's kind of like an interactive book feel to it, isn't it? I mean, it is a game. Don't get me wrong. It is a game. You've got things to read and interact with and jump on and puzzles to sort of solve. But there is, as you said, the main point of the game is to tell this story. Of actually it's quite a deep subject as well, isn't it? This isn't a throwaway subject you've got here.
The
with the depression, I mean.
Yeah, the depression is of course something that is not tackled that much in video games. I mean, there are some video games that do it exceptionally well.
It's very hard. It's a very hard thing to nail down.
Yes,
isn't it?
and also. Yeah, and also, to be honest, this game doesn't aim to explain how someone lives through with a depression, or actually focus on the depression itself. The game focuses much more on the story that led to that, which is also a topic that, well, I cannot unveil because it's the bulk of the story. Basically the main spoiler, but it's also not an easy subject. But yet again, the depression, although not being the main thing that I want to tackle in this game, is of course something that is tackled, is something that of course is told throughout the game, and in the end you have to help him overcome the depression, whatever was the cause for that. And I hope that it may help bring some, or continue to bring some awareness.
Absolutely, it's important, and again, like
that has something that has come a long way already, but still has a lot more ground to be.
Yeah, it's
future, because there's a lot of taboos still, and I think that video games, as the platform that they are, can help greatly in overcoming these taboos and these issues with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see the kind of taboo subject tackled by games, and that shows the power of games where they've grown in the last sort of 20 years. And the technology to do it as well, as because it would have been difficult to make this feel of a game if you were using a NES. You just wouldn't have got the atmospheric feel to it, would you?
Yes, I understand, but I think that most of it comes from the narrative point. I think that the writers have become a little bit more. It's not the right word for it, because the only word that comes to mind is real. But they have become a little bit more, in ground with subjects that really matter, and try to tackle important subjects and not only amuse and entertain, which was most of the writing for video games back.
Of course.
In the beginning.
Who has? Have you just developed this completely yourself, or have you had help in anything in the project?
No, basically it was almost 100% me. I had help with a friend in the first recordings for the voiceover.
Wow.
Of course, I had tons of help from the internet, and also friends that told me, a lot about programming, how should I do stuff. But the actual code and the actual drawings and the actual music was, in the end, 99.5% made by me.
Very impressive. And what about the writing? Because you said you're not a professional writer, but how have you managed to do the writing in and still make it feel like a proper story? Because that's the whole. Because it's again, writing is a pure skill in itself. So, have you had any experience before this writing?
Yeah. So, as I said, it was one of the reasons why I chose this style of game as well. Writing, alongside with music, are the two subjects that I had the most experience with in the past. I have written and composed an original musical before.
Wow.
Which I also brought to life in 2018. And although not released in any way, I wrote a lot of poems, short stories, and tried to write a lot of novels and stuff like that. So it's something that has been present in my life for quite a while, the narrative aspect and writing, and I'm quite comfortable in doing so. Mainly, of course, I do it in Portuguese, and this being mainly in English was an added difficulty.
Yeah.
But it also helped a lot in the end that some of the voice actors that were friends of mine, one of them, the main character, is actually a literature and drama professor. He's British, but he's a professor here, and he kind of proofread the whole script and helped me a lot with it.
Oh, fantastic.
So that was, very important to, I hope, make the English pop out a little bit more.
That's fantastic. Okay, so what about troubles? What's been the hardest thing for you to develop the game with? Is there anything that's caused you the biggest issue?
I think that one of the biggest issues is happening right now, which is the marketing and PR phase of it, because it's. Of course, there was a lot of struggles in the development part, and I'll get to that. But I'm actually it's my weak spot is the PR part. I'm not a person that sends or likes to send a lot of email and follows up with people and goes to a lot of Discord places and just has the nerves to put up and go to Reddit all the time and etc. etc. I just have this force against me that it's completely irrational.
You're not the only one. Like I say, almost every week now, that is pretty much the same thing that everybody struggles with.
And hence what's happening is that although people have been enjoying the game very much, from what I've seen, people playing the demo and stuff like that, it hasn't really got to that many people, and that's going to be the next big thing that I have to tackle.
Yeah. that's
Other than
exactly.
that, yeah, tell me. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, and that's exactly why I wanted to start doing these podcasts, because
Yeah,
as I was seeing, people were struggling to get the game shown to people. And it seems to be they do all this hard work, and then they're like, "Oh, guess I should let people know about this." I suppose. So
well, I have to say that it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative what you're doing here. No,
thank you.
it really is, because it's something that, I mean, it's such a completely different thing from the development itself. It's a completely different beast,
Yeah,
and people, yeah, most of the times just get there and they feel completely lost, and sometimes they don't have the money to hire a PR or to hire a marketing person, or they don't want to invest because they are afraid of doing so, or
yeah,
they just think it's not important, which was not the case in my case, but still it happens.
yeah.
So
Of course it does. Yeah, there's lots of reasons why, but it's one of the most important parts of any development. You know, there's no point if no
I
one knows
mean,
about it.
yeah, if you make a great whatever, but people don't buy it because they don't know about it, I mean, it's almost the same thing as doing nothing. As, I mean, it's not, of course, but to what the world concerns.
Absolutely, it is. It is. Cool. Okay. Well, what about what we were discussing? Let me see where we're up to. So we're talking about any help. We've done surprises or issues. Do you have any plans for more games or a follow on from this game at all? Have you thought about that far yet?
Yes, I have. I mean, I do have big plans for the future in terms of of game development. I have to be honest that I really absolutely adored this, loved this last year that went by, and so I want to continue doing this for the in the future. Of course, probably something a little bit more ambitious, with not necessarily only as a solo developer, but I don't want to have my expectations too high at the moment, because a lot is going to depend on the success of this project. Because as I said, I'm not having any kind of income for the last year,
Wow.
and although I'm not still in a financially struggling position, of course, if this is a complete failure, I will have to consider twice if I will continue doing this full time or doing it part time, and this, of course, will have a lot of impacts on the future projects. But if this goes at least a minimum well, so to speak, a minimum
Hmm.
success, I already have some ideas for games in the future. Yes.
Okay. Well, quality wise, there's definitely no issues because it is a fantastic game. It's a beautiful little
Thank you.
game. I don't know how long is the game playthrough wise. I mean, I know that depends on what people do, but
I
roughly.
think it's on average 4 hours.
Okay, 4 hours. Okay, so that's a nice length. So that's
It's on par with a lot of games like this, so to speak. I mean, Limbo, which is completely different of a game,
yes.
but it's still 3 to 4 hours. To the Moon, which is a completely story-driven game as well, is also 3 to 4 hours. So that's kind of what I aimed for.
Okay. Um, so I'm at the bit with the dog, and I always forget what I'm supposed to be doing. oh, okay. Actually, the thing we didn't cover is that you tweeted yesterday that
Yeah.
because in the game, again, I'm not going to give too much away, but in the game you come across a book that a character has written, um,
Yes.
and you've decided to actually write the book. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So what this is due to a lot of factors, but one of them, also something that I tweeted yesterday, is that the game is going to be delayed from its original um, release date, mainly due to the coronavirus situation in the world. Because that in well, that and the fact that I am not the best at marketing and PR and didn't have a proper strategy until not that long ago, I decided that I should. Yeah, because although it's probably a good time for people to buy and play games, it's not a good time for people to build a community around a certain game. And this is eventually going to the book story. Don't worry. And what happens is that I'm going to have a crowdfunding in June.
Okay.
I'm already preparing for it, and it's mainly to build the community, and the costs are going to marketing and to community building. And when I was thinking about what I'm going to, offer people that would back the crowdfunding, one of the things is going to be actually the writing of the Lighthouse, which is the story within a story in the game.
Very cool.
And I am going to write, not of course as a novel as it is in the game, because I don't have time for that, but I am already but yeah, I am already planning the short story version of it. I haven't started to write yet, but I already have kind of a storyboard, so to speak, and I will start writing in the following days. The book is not that spoken of. There's 3 or 4 references in the game to the Lighthouse, but it has kind of a deep connection to the story, and so I think that people that eventually get the chance to read the short story, I think that they will have a deeper understanding of what happened, or at least on the perspective on the person that wrote the book, which in this case is the wife of the man with the depression.
Very cool. Okay, so that's awesome. That's a great idea. And where are you doing the crowdfunding? Which platform are you using?
So I'm using Indiegogo because, there was basically not that much of a choice, because Kickstarter doesn't have, we can't do Kickstarter in Portugal.
Oh,
So
really?
we're going for, so,
Weird.
so Indiegogo is, it is.
Okay.
So Indiegogo is going to be the main platform.
Okay, so we'll make sure we leave a link to that project
I will.
in the show notes and on the YouTube comments and everywhere else. We'll make sure we link to that. Okay, so that brings me on to the obvious question of what help do you want with the game? Obviously, you've all finished it, so I'm assuming it's just as much help sharing and marketing and letting people know about the game as possible. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much. The game is finished, more or less. The game was supposed to be released in the end of May, and I'm not postponing it due to issues in ending its development. So I don't need any help on that at the moment. Sharing, marketing, word of mouth, streamers playing it, press, that's all that is required right now. It's basically to build up a community. And yeah.
That's good. Okay, and it's available on Steam yet or not? Or will it be on Steam? Which platforms is it actually available on, or going to be?
So it's going to be available in 2 platforms, at least on the time of release.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being, of course, Steam, and there's already a Steam page set up.
Okay.
And the other one is going to be the new platform that is actually going to be released this month, at least the beta version, which is called the Vox Pop Games.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's a new platform specifically for indie games. So basically, their motto is to help indie games make a living, so to speak. Indie developers make a living.
Sounds like somewhere I need.
So they have a different model. Yeah. They ask for streamers and stuff like that to promote the game. So they don't hire only developers, but they hire also streamers to share and market the content of their partners. So the beta version is going to be up this month, and it's going to be released on there as well in July, which is when I expect the game to be released at the moment.
Okay, and how do you spell that place? What was it? Voxbox?
Vox Pop, so VOXPOP.
Oh, let's just do some live research. Vox Pop. Okay.
If you go to that's it.
Okay, so something I never actually asked. people is which platform. Do you have a preference as to which platform people buy the game on? Which one helps you out the most? Because I know Steam will take a big chunk. I'm guessing.
Yeah, Steam does take a big chunk. I mean, I don't know if I can speak about the chunk of Vox Pop at the moment.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But I mean, you can still have a preference. I mean, if someone's thinking about buying the game, which they should, by the way, it's fantastic. Then you must have a preference to which one you would prefer them to buy it on, if possible. I mean, you know.
It's quite tricky, to be honest, because although Steam probably is the one that takes the biggest chunk of all compared to the Epic Store and to others, because I mean it has a monopoly, so to speak.
Of course.
There's a big advantage in having wish lists and reviews and people buying the game there, because I mean it will make it market your game, so to speak, in their front store, and you have access to more and more people. So it's not that linear of a question. I mean, if we go to, I mean, earning more money per sale, of course, Steam is not going to be the most valuable.
No, but long term, it's going to have more exposure, isn't it?
Yeah. If I mean, I would like for people to, I mean, if they buy in a different platform than Steam, I would probably prefer them to have wish listed on Steam, and even though buying in the other platform, to go and give a review on Steam as well. Because in the end, it's where most of the people are. So if the algorithm pushes me up, the most people get the chance to hear about Into a Dream.
So really, we want people to buy it on all platforms, please.
That would be ideal, of course.
That's the ideal, yeah. Just buy it everywhere. Thanks. Okay, so that is all the main questions that I have. Is there anything you want to cover that we haven't covered?
No, I don't think so.
So, I managed to get stuck.
I just want to, maybe I would like to say, because I didn't quite continue when you asked about the struggles, and I talked about PR and marketing.
Yes.
But I think it's probably also important to state another struggle that I have, and that probably a lot of indie developers also have the same struggle, which is the fact that you're doing this alone or with one or two people, and you don't have any kind of revenue, and you need to maintain focus on what you're doing. And this is something that, for everybody that is listening and that is going through the same thing, I mean, it's completely normal, and you just need to, concede that there are going to be days where you think that the project is going nowhere, and there are going to be days or even weeks. I mean, it happened to me. I was in the middle of the game, and I had the story kind of planned out, but I decided that, I mean, the story didn't make sense from that point further. And so I spent like 2 or 3 weeks where I just got out of the house and went walking and thinking about what path should the story take. And for that amount of time, for that 3 weeks, I didn't end up with any conclusion. So basically I was completely stuck for 3 weeks, where basically it seemed that I hadn't worked at all. And I mean, this is completely part of the process.
Sure, it's like writer's block, isn't it?
It's mostly the same thing. Yeah, I assume. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, people just need to understand it's a normal part of it and try to cope it as they can. And one thing that is quite important for people to try and understand is that thinking about stuff and not getting to any conclusion is still work. It's still time that you spend. I mean, and it adds up to something. It's not completely useless, as it's easy for someone to.
So, what was there anything that you found helped you get through that? Was it talking to other developers or people in the community of the game, or people completely unrelated to gaming? Was there anything that helped you get through it?
Yes, it did, and it was talking to people that were not related to gaming, so friends and family. But yet again, I think that it really varies from person to person. I am one of those persons, one of those people that just firing up ideas with someone else is what triggers the most creativity in me, to be honest. I mean, I tried to, by myself, come up to a conclusion, but I couldn't. And then I spoke to someone, that person just gave an idea. And it's so weird because the person said, oh, you should do this. And then I immediately said, no, I should do that. But I think in the
that's
end,
your idea. That's a terrible idea. Thanks for clearing that up. I love it.
it's weird, but it's how I personally work. But what I suggest is for people to, I mean, try different stuff. I mean, if you're doing the same thing in terms of routine-wise places for just 1, 2, 3, 4 days, just do something different. I mean, there are correlations between the environment around us and the ideas that we get and the creativity that we get. So the best thing that one needs to get when they are in this writer's block or design block or whatever is just to try and change their routine in a way, until someone unblocks it.
Yeah, it's very good advice. It's actually nice advice to hear, because there's probably a subject that I don't really cover on the podcast about advice for other developers. I do talk about advice for people wanting to get into development, and I
Okay.
but I don't actually cover really the struggles that devs go through, mentally, and because there's a lot to it, and you are on your own a lot. I mean, as people are finding out with this self-isolation, imagine doing that as your job. You have to lock yourself away to concentrate for months on end. So there's a lot to that, absolutely. Okay, so where is the best place for people to find out more information about the game? Because the demo is still available now, isn't it?
The demo is going to be available until the release date. I'm probably going to update it because I now also have a Russian translation of the demo.
Ooh.
That is now in its latest development, and I have made a lot of improvements. But the place where I share the most development is on Twitter.
Yep.
Although now both Discord and the mailing list are going to be extremely important, because that's where it's going to be easier for people to find in an organized manner stuff related to the crowdfunding and to the actual release date and etc. Okay. So Twitter for those little details if you want to know about what have I done that day regarding development. Mm-hmm. But for important announcements, going to my Discord or joining to the mailing list it would be the most helpful, not only for people interested in the game, but also for me and for my own community building.
Of course. Okay, so you heard it here. So if you are interested in the game, I suggest, where is the demo hosted, by the way?
The demo is hosted on itch.
On itch.
Only,
there it is.
Only for now. I'm actually thinking about if whether I should add it to Steam as well. I will have some more info on that in the next few days, but for now it's only on itch.
Okay, so head to itch, download the demo there if you're interested. And where can people sign up to the newsletter? Do you have a website?
Yes, I do have a website, which I will probably give you the link. It's not easy to spell, but then because I don't have a domain yet.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. So keep an eye out for the show notes and the comments, YouTube comments, and all that, and I'll make sure that I push all the latest links and updates on there.
And actually, if in the website, there's both the links to the Steam page, to the demo, to the newsletter, and there's also the trailers, screenshots, and the soundtrack is available for listening on the website as well.
Okay, so you composed all the audio, your music yourself, did you? I assume.
I did, yes.
Beautiful, fantastic. Okay. So, what is your Twitter handle? That's an easy one to read out.
It's Into a Dream Game.
There we go. Into a Dream Game.
And most of my social media, such as Facebook or Instagram or something like that, it's always Into a Dream Game.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure playing the game. I really enjoyed it. It was a really nice build-up, and I'm going to have to buy it because I have to see what goes on.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So your writing worked because I need to know what happened.
Good. No, thank you. Honestly,
I do highly recommend people. You've at least got to go and check the demo out because, although if you're going to go and check the demo out, be prepared to buy the game. So bear that in mind. So go grab the demo. Go sign up for the mailing list. Keep an eye out for the links. Make sure you follow on Twitter. And I'm convinced this is going to be a huge success if we can just get people to know about it.
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, it's been lovely talking to you. And this has taken. We've actually been trying to do this podcast for about 3 weeks, but the world keeps getting in the way. So it's good to finally get it done.
It is. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll stop the podcast there. Okay, so we're still live on Twitch. So hello. Cool, man. That was really good. Thank you very much for that. It was great.
Well, thank you. I really think this is a wonderful initiative, and you're doing a wonderful job. I really enjoyed the stream and also the podcast, the way that you conduct the questions, etc.
Thanks, man. I'm still
Really?
still a bit rusty in it all, but I'm just getting more and more. The thing is, it's how different people approach it. Some people are really happy to talk. Some people are, not so. It doesn't come so natural to them. So
I know that's
each
that's
person you talk
personality.
to, each person you talk to, you've got to start kind of learn how to sort of get questions out of them or how they're going to speak. But this was super easy. So
Well, but I assume it's a wonderful learning process for you as well, because I assume it's not easy to just be, because you can't be prepared for the person that is going to appear in front of you, so you have to in real time kind of change your approach to self to get the most out of the people and the promotion of the game.
Yeah, I can't spend a week getting to know someone first because there's just too many.
And mainly their talking style, which is not something easy to.
No, it's not. I've got all the different accents and languages to deal with.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. So
but it's
great
cool.
job, really, honestly.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's nice to hear. And like I said, we'll make sure we share this everywhere. Well, both of my accounts now. So you get double the tweets now. But yeah, it's been cool talking to you, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like I said, it's a great game. It looks so nice. I don't want to keep concentrating on the looks, but you can't deny how nice it looks. So it's.
But that's amazing, because the design was actually, as I told in the podcast, something that I was the most afraid about, because I had no experience.
Wow.
So I mean, the way that it all kind of blended together in the end. And yet again, I think that for an indie game, unfortunately in a way, but the visuals are actually very important, because you can easily grasp people's attention just with the visuals.
Yeah, and and the thing is, different people are attracted by different things as well. So, some people, if the game looks ugly, unfortunately, it puts a percentage of people off. They won't even try it.
Does. Yeah, but for example, in this case, we're talking about a story-driven game, and I can't tell much other than the premise of the game. So people have no idea if the writing is good or bad. Of course, well, they have a sense if they play the demo.
Of course.
But other than that, I mean, it's very difficult to kind of showcase it. Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
But it's not easy to showcase that kind of things, contrarily to, of course, visuals.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Cool. Well, okay. Well, you're in the Discord now. If you send me the link to yours, I'll jump in yours as well if you want.
Okay.
And
of course,
I'll sign up to the newsletter, and I'll make sure I do all the things and share all the stuff. But as you see, there's plenty.
Yeah, I'll add it in our Discord conversation. I will drop the links there.
Yeah, lovely. And there's always a handful of indie devs in the Discord now. I've given them their own role, so if you ever want any, they've all been lovely, all the people so far. So I've been very lucky, but they've all been really cool. So feel free to reach out.
That's actually something that. No, but that's actually something that I was very impressed about. Is that the indie dev community? At least the Twitter one, which is the one that I am most accustomed to. It's completely lovely. They're all supportive of one another.
Yeah.
They just don't want to get their games out there and forget about everything else. It seems like genuine help and genuine good people just chatting and sharing and etc. It's amazing.
You think it'd be quite competitive, wouldn't you? Like, I don't want to share his stuff because in case it sells more than me. You think it'd be kind of like that, but it's not at all.
No, yeah, it is. I haven't had that kind of feeling. It's actually impressive that people even with the same genre, they just share your game and say, "Oh, this is going to be an amazing game," and it's amazing to see that.
Again, the amount of support I get from I get retweets, I get loads of people saying, "Oh, thanks for this and this." I think, "Bloody hell, this is great." I only started this Twitter account like 3 days ago. I've already got like 40 followers. I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's
that's amazing, and it's going to just rise and rise. You'll see.
Yeah. What I am doing
after this interview.
Yeah, well, that's it. We'll be sharing the hell out of this. So what I am actually doing is, once I've done this, so I've uploaded the original gameplay that I did of the demo. But the problem is, I'm not sure how many people watch replays of streams. It was really just there, so if you wanted to share it to show someone what it was like to play it, you'd have access to it, and then I can reference it as well. But what I'm planning on doing is just doing like a 5-10 minute, not a review, but kind of like an overview of the game for YouTube. So it'll just be a dedicated little 5-10 minute video of all the games that I cover in here.
Okay, cool.
So I will do that with this one as well, of course. I wish I'd started it at the start, because now I've got like 8 episodes to go back over and write scripts for and not sound like a robot.
Yeah, well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So
but it will get done. I know it for sure. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
I know it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. So this video again, this live podcast, I'll put this on YouTube. I have to wait 24 hours because of Twitch rules.
That's all right.
So this will go up hopefully tomorrow, maybe the day after, and I'll get to edit in the audio for this, and this should be up. I don't work again now till Saturday, so this should go up within the next day or two as a podcast.
Okay.
Because
great.
Should be nice. There isn't hardly any editing to do on this one.
No, I just talk, right?
Yes, great. But that's what I want. I want people to just come on and just talk.
No silences to edit.
No, I just load up the file and it's just like, oh, okay, export. Great. Okay, cool. Well, let me stop the stream. Oh no, I've got to wait. It's on 59 minutes and 25 seconds. I can't leave that. I've got to let it tick to an hour.
Well, yeah. Now that we're at it,
that'd drive me mad otherwise. Would you like the copy of the audio or not? It's up to you. I can send you the link if you want.
I don't think it's. No, I don't think it's necessary. No, don't worry about it.
All right, that's fine. I always ask just in case people want their own.
And mainly, if you're not going to make that much editing, the podcast is going to be quite similar to this.
It will be, yeah. It will just stop pretty much exactly where I said, okay, that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I always do a little intro and outro as well, so you'll have a bit of extra.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so let me stop the stream there. That's an hour and 4 seconds. That's good.